And hello and welcome. This is the Lab 7 video walkthrough. What I've done here is I've shown you the checklist, because really when you read the checklist, it's asking you to do two things. One thing is to look at the blueprint for each one of the characters. There's going to be certain things that I'm going to be looking for. I need to see the components panel. I need to see the viewport. And I need to see what you've actually written inside the blueprint editor for the code that's meant to be applying for this. Now, depending on what the component is, I need you to select the component and then show me the information that I say I'm looking for. So for the floating pond movement, it'll be the speed. For the navigational invoker, it'll be how big it is, how much space it's taking up. And then for, let's say, something like pond sensing, it'll be the direction of the cone. And there may be a few other things that I ask for, but you'll hear it in the video as I'm going through. And it'll be the same. Oh, the placement of the scene component, where the spawning of the projectile happens. So those are the things that I need to see from your components. Most of those are going to be in the details panels. Only one of those, the pond sensing and the scene components, will actually be in the viewport. So I'll need you to open up the viewport for that. From there, obviously I need to see the enemy character on the mesh, to see that it is actually interacting, that we get the green boxes around each one of our enemy characters. And then from there, obviously you need to push play and show me that the enemy character does indeed do what it's supposed to do, and doesn't act funny or do weird things. So basically, show me the blueprint, the viewport, each one of the components, certain things that I'm looking for in the components, and then in the second half of the video, show me it working in the game, right? So the best way to do this would be, don't need that. So the best way to do this would be to go ahead and let's go. I'm just going to zoom over to where I've got them all set up. Okay, so that's one area. I've got them all set up. Very easy to get there. My character is just right down the block, so I'll be able to get there quickly. But what I'm looking for is this. So in each one of these, what I've done is I've opened up the statue enemy, the shooting enemy, the rotating enemy, and the roam chase shoot enemy. Well, I should have gotten that set up a little bit better, but we'll go viewport, 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 and viewport. That way I can see the mesh. And we'll start with the first one, which is the statue enemy. So in the statue enemy, I needed to see the floating pond movement. I want to see the speed that you've assigned to it. In the navigational invoker, what I want to see is the size of the radius that you've given it. And with the pond sensing, I want to see that the statue is indeed facing the direction of the cone. And then from there, I want to see the AI, which is what we've made changes to, right? So those would be the floating pond movement with the speed, the navigational invoker with the radius, and pond sensing with the cone, and the information here for the AI. From there, pond sensing or the statue enemies code is fairly simple. So what I want you to do is zoom out and show me that that is the only piece of code there. And then from there, starts panning across slowly. So then that way I can see that everything is connected correctly and that you do have the correct information in all the boxes. So with that, that is it for statue enemy. I don't need to see anything else with it. We'll move on to the next one, which is the shooting enemy. So with this one, the first object is going to be the projectile spawn, where it's actually spawning the projectile from. In this case, with this statue, I've got it in the hand. From there, I want to see same thing, floating pond and the speed that you've given it, navigational invoker and the size and the radius of that, and then the pond sensing. Zoom out far enough away to where I can tell where the cone is and what direction it's facing, and that the mesh is facing indeed in the same direction. From there, the next thing we'll need to do is look at the event graph. Again, zoom all the way out, show me that this is the only piece of code, then zoom into the front end of this and then start to scan across it slowly. In this situation, we can probably get all of it in one window if everything is squeezed down close enough. Okay. And that reaches the end of the code. This allows me to be able to check things like, did you check that? Did you uncheck this? Are the static meshes what you've got things attached to? So that'll allow me to be able to do that. The other thing I also want to see is that you have your shoot amount. Your shoot amount is there and how much you've given it to shoot. So with that, that's all I needed to see with the shooting enemy, right? So we've seen all the things in the component panel plus everything in the event graph. From there, we're going to go to the rotating shooting enemy. With this one, actually, I don't believe it needs floating pawn movement. I think that's just been copied over from it because it actually doesn't move. From there, we do want to see the pawn sensing. This one's pawn sensing is 180 degrees, so I can't tell what direction is forward. So what I want you to do is go into its AI, click on 45. That'll for sure tell me that the cone is going in that direction. And with that, I can tell that your character is facing the correct direction. You can go ahead and put that back. And because we've made a change, hit compile and save. With that, that's what I need to. I need to see also where you've placed the shooting projectile. Like in this case, it's in the mouth of the statue. And from there, I need to see the event graph. So zoom all the way out. Show me that's the only thing there. Zoom in close enough to where I can see what's going on, and then scan across slowly. Trying again to keep everything together where I can see it. In this case, that's where the end of this is. So I'm going to zoom up or zoom down, go down so that I can see the rest of it. Okay, so that's what I needed to see there. I also want to see the shoot amount, whether you've actually got the variable there or not. Okay, so that's what I needed to see with the rotating shooting enemy. So we'll hit compile and save, and we'll move on to the roam, chase, shoot. With this one, we have where the particle system is. So that's where it is out in front of the character. That's where the enemy, where it's going to spawn from. From there, I want to see floating pawn movement, the speed, navigational invoker, how big of a navigational area did you give it, and then pawn sensing, what direction the pawn is going to see you in. Again, this one is set to 90, so give it 45 so I can see what direction it's going in, and that this is facing the correct direction. And then from there, put it back, compile, save. And with that, we then go to the event graph. In the event graph, zoom all the way out, show me all the code. Once you've got it, the first piece that I need to see is going to be this, the begin to roam. The second one is going to be the roam one. So with that one, we'll again scan across slowly. I want to see the radius and what you've done with it. Okay, then we'll scan down to the chase. Go across the chase real quick. Get all the way to the end of it. Then we will go down to the event tick with the chase to roam and do the same thing. Scan across slowly so that I can see what's going on. This is the shooting information here. Okay, we've reached the end. Again, show me the shoot amount. All right, so now we've seen everything that is the first half, right? All the code, all the components, and everything that makes this thing work. From there, I'm going to go ahead and close those boxes, and now I want to demo, right? So in this half, what we're going to do is each one of those should be on the floor. I should be able to see the green outline of the navigational mesh. Remember, that's putting them on the mesh and then hitting the letter P to be able to view it. This guy shouldn't have a nav mesh on it because it doesn't move, it just rotates. All right, so let's go ahead and push play. Let me move into the correct area of the game. Okay, so what I want to see is that the roaming, chasing, shooting enemy character that's in the background is indeed roaming, stopping, picking a new random location, and then moving to that location. I can see that I've already got the rotating enemy, which is following me, which is what I want. So it does rotate and it does shoot in my direction. I'll stop just so that it can pick up on me. Okay, from there I want to engage the statue enemy. Okay, it's seen me. I'm going to, let's say, all right, I want to move far enough away that it stops, right? So it's no longer chasing me. I'm going to engage it again. Okay, it sees me again. I'm going to move out of its perception, and now it stops. Okay, so that's that enemy character. Let's check out the chasing, shooting enemy. Okay, so remember this one should move like the statue, and it should also generate projectiles. So I can see there in the hand that that's where it's generating the projectile. This is why I wanted to see where that was, so I can verify as you're walking around that that's where indeed it does do that. I'm going to move far enough away that the statue enemy or the shooting enemy has stopped, and now we're going to go engage the last enemy character, which is the roaming, chasing, shooting enemy. And we need to engage it. It does see me. Sort of gave up a little quickly, but okay. There we go. So we've engaged it properly. It is seeing us. It did shoot in our direction, and it does go back to roaming. So if I move away from it far enough away and I'm outside of its range, it does go back to roaming. Okay, so those are all the enemy characters. That is showing me the blueprints and everything that I needed to see on the code side of it and how the character has been put together, and then checking its gameplay and making sure that it moves and interacts the way that it's supposed to out on the floor. Okay, so I hope the video has been helpful and you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.